Imagine this. Your child is screaming, kicking, crying uncontrollably, and instead of fighting the meltdown, you place your hand gently on their back, you breathe slowly, and within seconds, your child's body softens. Their breathing slows, their eyes look up at you, searching for safety. And they calm down without yelling, threats, or battles. This may sound unrealistic, but it's exactly what thousands of Korean parents do every day. And it works, not because they're stricter or better at discipline, but because they understand something most parents are never taught. A tantrum is not a behavior problem, it's a nervous system problem. And when the nervous system is overwhelmed, logic disappears. Connection becomes the only language the brain understands. In this video, I'm going to show you the Korean method that calms tantrums in 60 seconds or less. It comes from a powerful cultural concept called Jeong, a deep emotional bond built through closeness, gentleness, and steady presence. This isn't about spoiling your child or letting bad behavior slide. It's about using science and emotional intelligence to help your child return to safety, so they can actually learn from the moment. Before we go deeper, I'd love to hear from you. What's the hardest part about managing tantrums in your home? Drop a comment below. I personally read everything because it helps me create videos that truly support you. And while you're here, make sure you subscribe to the Parenting Blueprint, because every week we share research-based, culturally informed parenting tools that help you raise calm, capable, emotionally strong kids without yelling, stress, or guilt. Now let's look at what's really happening inside your child during a tantrum. When your child melts down, their brain shifts into what neuroscientists call a survival state. Their amygdala, the brain's alarm system, fires rapidly. Their stress hormones spike. Their vision narrows. Reasoning shuts off. It doesn't matter how smart, sweet, or well-behaved your child usually is. In that moment, their brain is not capable of listening, cooperating, or negotiating. This is why saying things like, calm down, use your words, or stop crying almost never works. It's like trying to teach someone to swim while they're drowning. They don't need lessons, they need safety. And this is where the Korean approach becomes so powerful. Instead of correcting, lecturing, or arguing, Korean parents create a brief emotional sanctuary, a regulated presence that helps the child's nervous system sync with theirs. This moment is called the Jeong pause, and once you learn it, tantrums will look and feel completely different. To understand why the Jeong pause works so quickly, we need to look at one of the most important but often ignored truths in child psychology. Children borrow their parents' nervous system. This means your emotional state becomes their emotional state. When you tense up, raise your voice, or show frustration, your child's brain interprets it as danger. Their nervous system escalates, their tantrum intensifies, and they lose even more control. Not because they're defiant, but because they're overwhelmed. But when you stay grounded, when your voice softens, when your body relaxes, when your presence feels steady, your child senses safety. Their amygdala quiets, their breathing slows, their brain shifts from fight-flight into rest, restore. Suddenly, they can accept help. Suddenly, they can hear your words. Suddenly, they come back to you. This is the heart of Korean Jeong, the belief that emotional closeness is not the opposite of discipline, it is the foundation of discipline. You cannot teach a child who feels unsafe, but you can teach a child who feels held, understood, and emotionally anchored. So here's how the Jeong pause begins. The moment you see your child's meltdown rising, even before it reaches full intensity, you pause. Not to control them, not to command them, but to stabilize yourself. Because if your child is the storm, you must become the ground beneath them. First, drop your shoulders. Then breathe slowly, one long, steady exhale. Your nervous system immediately starts sending out signals of calm. Your child's nervous system begins to mirror yours, even before you say a word. Next, you go near, but not into their space. Korean parents follow a principle called close presence, being physically near enough to provide safety, but not so close that the child feels controlled. This balance gives the child ownership of their feelings while still offering your support. Then comes the most important step. You place one gentle hand on the child's back, shoulder, or arm only if the child allows touch. This is not a restraining touch, it's a grounding touch. The goal is not to stop the behavior, but to tell their body, "You're safe. I'm here. Your feelings are not too big for me." In Korea, parents rarely start with words during a tantrum. Words are for learning, touch and presence are for calming, and calming must come first. When your child begins to breathe slower, sometimes in as little as 10 to 20 seconds, you're ready for the next part of the Jeong method, emotional matching and gentle co-regulation. As your child begins to settle into your presence, the next part of the Korean Jeong method unfolds almost naturally. This phase is about emotional synchronizing, often called matching, and it is remarkably powerful. Instead of trying to talk your child out of their feelings or rushing to end the tantrum, you gently align with the emotional tone your child is experiencing, not by mirroring their intensity, but by mirroring their sincerity. Korean parents often soften their eyes, lower their voice, and lean slightly forward, showing with their entire body, "I see you. I feel what you feel. You're not alone in this moment." This emotional alignment is not about approval of the behavior, but acceptance of the child's internal experience. When a child senses this emotional match, something shifts inside them. Their distress stops feeling like a battle and starts feeling like a shared burden. That shift is what opens the door to calming in under 60 seconds. A child cannot regulate alone until they first regulate with someone, and Jeong gives them that first step with absolute clarity. Imagine your child screaming because the wrong color cup was given to them. A parent using logic might say, "It's not a big deal, just drink from it." A parent using frustration might say, "Stop crying right now." But a parent using Jeong leans in, breathes slowly, and says softly, "That cup really upset you." That single sentence, delivered with emotional warmth instead of force, tells the child's nervous system, "You are heard." And children who feel heard rapidly become children who can listen. Then something almost magical happens. Their breath softens, their shoulders drop, their eyes look up at you, searching for confirmation that the storm has passed and connection remains intact. This is where your calm presence, which until now has acted like a safety net, becomes the bridge back to emotional stability. At this point, you do not jump into teaching or correcting. You simply continue providing emotional safety for a few more moments. Korean parents often place their hand near the child's cheek or back and maintain that quiet proximity. They do not rush to fix the situation or distract the child with toys or treats. Instead, they allow the child to feel the natural resolution of the emotion. This teaches a profoundly important lesson. Strong feelings are survivable. As the child returns to themselves, they naturally move closer to you or let out a long, tired sigh. Many parents misinterpret this moment and immediately try to talk sense into the child, but that interrupts the calming process. Koreans tend to wait for a very subtle cue, the child's gaze softening, before shifting into the gentler teaching phase. This timing matters. When the brain is calm, it is teachable. When the brain is overwhelmed, teaching feels like pressure. Once your child shows they are receptive, you lean in and offer a small, warm statement like, "It was really hard, wasn't it? I'm glad you're okay now." This short moment of connection solidifies the calming experience and teaches your child that emotions rise, fall, and eventually settle, especially when someone steady is guiding them through the wave. The child learns emotional regulation not from instruction, but from experience, an experience that your presence created. As your child begins to calm, the Korean method transitions into what many cytologists now call the window of teachability. This is the moment when their nervous system has returned to safety and their brain is no longer overwhelmed by emotion. Logic, empathy, and cooperation become possible again. But here's what makes the Korean Jeong method so different from Western approaches. The teaching is brief, gentle, and rooted in connection, not control. Instead of giving a lecture, a Korean parent will usually offer a sentence or two that helps the child make sense of what just happened. It might be something simple like, "Your feelings got really big, but you did a good job calming with me." Or, "Next time, we can breathe together sooner." The focus is not on what the child did wrong, but on the strength they showed while recovering. This subtle shift reinforces capability rather than shame. Children absorb lessons far more deeply when they feel empowered, not corrected. The Korean approach understands this at the deepest level. After a tantrum, children already know their behavior wasn't ideal. What they need is help understanding what to do with big emotions, not punishment and not guilt. When parents shift the emotional tone from "you lost control" to "you're learning to handle strong feelings," children feel capable, not defective. Another important part of the teaching phase is staying physically close. Korean parents often sit beside their child, not across from them. This proximity sends a powerful message: we solve things together. And this message becomes the foundation for how the child will approach conflict, emotions, and challenges for the rest of their life. As the child settles, you may notice them naturally lean toward you or even initiate a small gesture of closeness. This is a sign the emotional repair is complete. Many Western parents misinterpret this as neediness, but in reality, this is emotional security forming right in front of your eyes. A child who seeks connection after conflict is not weak. They are learning how relationships recover. Once the teaching moment is finished, Korean parents transition into closure. This part is subtle but deeply meaningful. They help the child re-enter normal life, maybe by guiding them into a new activity, offering a cuddle, or simply standing up together and moving to another room. This shift signals the storm is over, life continues. The child internalizes that emotional episodes do not break relationships, they simply move through them. And this is the heart of the method. Your calm presence rewires the child's understanding of emotions. Instead of seeing anger or sadness as something dangerous, shameful, or isolating, the child learns that these feelings can be lived through, soothed, and resolved in connection with someone who loves them. When a child grows up with this message, tantrums decrease not because they fear punishment, but because they trust regulation. Before we continue, take a moment to share in the comments what type of tantrums you struggle with most. Every family faces different emotional challenges, and your experience could help another parent feel less alone. And if you're finding value in these insights, remember to subscribe to the Parenting Blueprint so you never miss videos that help you build an emotionally strong, deeply connected family. As we arrive at the final part of the Korean method, you'll see why this approach has such a powerful long-term impact on a child's emotional development. The Jeong pause isn't just about stopping a tantrum in a moment. It's about shaping the way your child learns to handle stress, frustration, disappointment, and overwhelm for the rest of their life. And that's why this final step matters so much. It's about building emotional memory. Every time your child goes through a big emotional wave and you guide them through it with calm presence, connection, and steady reassurance, their brain stores that experience. The amygdala, the part of the brain responsible for fear and emotional alarms, becomes less reactive. The prefrontal cortex, the part responsible for emotional control and decision-making, becomes stronger. And the nervous system begins to associate overwhelming emotions with safety, not danger. This is the emotional reprogramming that Korean parents do so well, often without even realizing it. They repeat this gentle pattern over and over again, connecting deeply, staying calm, co-regulating, teaching softly, and then returning to normal. Over time, the child becomes someone who regulates naturally, recovers quickly from distress, and can handle the inevitable challenges of growing up. You might notice that as you practice this method, tantrums begin to shorten. They become less explosive. Your child learns to recognize big feelings earlier, seeks support sooner, and recovers faster. This isn't magic. It's the science of connection applied consistently. And the more your child trusts this process, the more independent they become, not because they are forced to be, but because they feel safe enough to be. One of the most beautiful effects of the Jeong approach is how it transforms your relationship. When a child believes deeply and instinctively that their parent won't shame them during a meltdown, won't punish them for losing control, and won't withdraw love when emotions get big, everything changes. Cooperation increases. Honesty increases. The child feels braver, more open, and more connected. This emotional safety becomes the foundation for self-control. And here's something many parents don't expect. Once your child can trust you with their hardest moments, they also trust you more with their successes. They share more, they hide less. They learn that love doesn't disappear when life gets messy. That's the power of Jeong. Before we wrap up, I'd love to hear from you. Which part of this method do you feel would help your child the most? Is it the calm presence, the teaching moment, the closeness afterward? Share your thoughts in the comments. Your experience may make another parent feel understood and supported. And if you haven't subscribed yet, now's a great moment. Joining the Parenting Blueprint means you'll always have guidance that helps you build emotional resilience, confidence, and connection in your children every single week. As you go forward, remember this: tantrums are not signs of failure. They are invitations. Invitations to teach emotional strength. Invitations to build trust. Invitations to become the steady, safe presence your child can return to again and again. And when you respond with calm and connection, you're not just stopping meltdowns, you're shaping the emotional wiring of the adult your child will become.